William Caldwell.
Here.
Gary Simpson. Marlon Milner. Olivia Brady. Derek Perry. Sonia Sanders.
So I would like to make a motion to appoint Valerie Cooper Scott to fill the 3rd District Council seat until a special election is held.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. May I have Doug Pulis come to the front, please?
Yes. Just sign that, please.
Prepared to take the oath?
I am.
Place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand. Switch it around
Get
so
my
we can see everyone. Yes. Thank you.
Yes. I'll be on this end.
Thank you. I, Valerie Scott Cooper, do solemnly swear
I, Valerie Scott Cooper, do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United
and
States
the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
the Home Rule Charter of the Municipality of Norristown,
the Home Room Charter of the Municipality of Norristown,
and the laws of Pennsylvania
and the laws of Pennsylvania
and the Municipality of Norristown.
and the Municipality of Norristown.
I will discharge the duties of my office
I will discharge the duties of my
as
office
District 3 Council Member
as District 3 Council Member
for the Municipality of Norristown
for the Municipality of
with
Norristown
honor and fidelity.
with honor and fidelity.
I will uphold, obey, and enforce
I will uphold, obey, and enforce
the laws of Pennsylvania
the laws of Pennsylvania
and the Municipality of Norristown
and the Municipality of Norristown
without consideration
without,
to a person's race,
without consideration to a person's race,
color,
color,
sex,
sex,
religious creed,
religious creed,
sexual orientation,
sexual orientation, age,
national origin,
ancestry,
handicap,
handicap,
or disability.
or disability.
Sure you will. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm happy to shake. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Pronounces that's yours. It's still State.
Andrew State.
All right. And
Call him up.
yes.
Andrew?
All right. So let me make a motion first.
I would like to make a motion to appoint Andrew Steitler as our new firefighter.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. That motion carries. Madam Secretary. Okay. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Ian Caldwell.
Aye.
Barry Simpson.
Aye.
Michael Millner. Libby Brady. Derek Perry.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Steitler, if you could, please repeat after me. I, Andrew Steitler,
I, Andrew Steitler,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
or affirm that I will support,
or affirm that I will support,
obey, and defend
obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
of America,
of America,
the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
the Home Rule Charter
the Home Rule Charter
of the Municipality of Norristown,
the Municipality of Norristown,
and the laws of Pennsylvania
and the laws of Pennsylvania,
and the Municipality of Norristown.
and the Municipality of Norristown.
I will discharge the duties
I will discharge the duties
of my office as Norristown firefighter
of Norristown firefighter
for the Municipality of Norristown
for the Municipality of Norristown
with honor and fidelity.
with honor and fidelity.
I will uphold,
I will uphold,
obey,
obey,
and enforce the laws
and enforce the laws
of Pennsylvania
of Pennsylvania
and the Municipality of Norristown
and the Municipality of Norristown
without consideration
without consideration
to a person's race,
to a person's race,
color,
color,
sex,
sex,
religious creed,
religious creed,
sexual orientation,
sexual orientation,
age,
age,
national origin,
national origin,
ancestry,
ancestry,
handicap,
handicap,
or disability.
or disability.
Congratulations. 20th, 2015.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes and those minutes are approved. There was no executive session tonight. Mr. Jones, will you be introducing those for the presentation?
I'll be happy to, Madam President. Council members, we are happy to have before you representatives from PFM. PFM, as you may know, currently does work on behalf of the municipality in terms of financial advisement, as well as work with our firefighters pension program. Some of the other types of work that they do that they have not yet engaged with us is around financial strategies, financial management, financing, et cetera, for economic development projects. Councilman Perry had attended the Pennsylvania Municipal League conference this year in Allentown and had engaged representatives from the company in a discussion about a lot of the things they did in terms of transformation in Allentown for economic development, and just wanted as a point of information to come and have them share a little bit about the kinds of things that they did in Allentown as we began to move forward in terms of our discussions about economic development in the coming weeks and what possibilities may exist for Norristown and maybe pursuing some similar efforts. So with that, I'll ask that the folks from PFM come up. Mark, I can never say your last name correctly, so if you'll do that, I'd appreciate it.
All right, well, good evening again. Thank you for having us. This is sort of going to be a tag team approach this evening. As you see, we kind of brought various members of our team. We always like to approach our client matters and client needs in teams. We have a very collaborative approach at PFM to try to help our clients kind of achieve all the goals that you may have. I think individually, none of us can, again, individually help you, but as a team, we always go about this under that approach. And I think we can, based on what we know of the municipality and what some of your future needs may be and some of the ideas you have, I think we have, we'd love to be able to partner with the municipality going forward and share some of our ideas and help you through, some of your exciting times it sounds like you may have in the future. So with that, I'll quickly introduce our team, and then again, we'll turn it over to a few of the folks here. But on page 3 of the handout, as you heard, we have sort of various divisions within our company. We have the financial services group, where we do a lot of bond, a lot of debt management, whether it's refinancing or capital planning. You're going to see that myself, I would be the one leading the project team, with Jamie Schlesinger here out of our Malvern office, and Melissa Hughes would be the various members of that team. Investment advisory services. You know Mark Yusanchek and Paul Robinson. Some of you may know him as well. He was not able to attend this evening, but he does some of your money management work for the municipality. And then our management and budget consulting services, we have Gordon Mann with us as well, and one of his colleagues was unable to make this evening. So, again, we come at this from a multifaceted approach. We take a very collaborative approach with all of our engagements to try to ultimately get you the outcome that you're looking for. So if we kind of go back to page 2, So these are sort of the key team members that would be assigned to the Norristown project team. But again, as far as some of the services, on the financial advisory side, on the far left-hand side, again, I already mentioned quite a few of these, whether it's your debt portfolio management, and you'll hear one of the slides that we have that you do have a current opportunity to change your debt portfolio a little bit by going from a higher rate to a lower rate and possibly achieving some significant debt service savings that the municipality could realize. So again, we'll get to that shortly. As far as any kind of future planning of any potential new debt in the future, whether it's 1 year out or 5 years or 10 years, we have kind of the tools to do that. I know one of the key issues is economic development. That's on the table for the municipality. We do kind of one of our specialties is economic development financing. It's kind of a separate little niche where not a lot of folks can do that. So we look at that along with public-private partnerships or public-to-public partnerships. Again, we'll speak a little bit about that, and also some policy initiatives. Investment advisory services, I will turn that over to Mark then shortly to describe a little bit about, and you already know a lot about what he does, but hit on a few other things. And then again, Gordon leads his team with the management and budgeting consulting services with kind of in conjunction with us, looks at the multi-year planning, which we feel is extremely important for the health and fiscal sustainability of kind of any government going forward. I think we've really seen a big paradigm shift from looking just 1 year forward to the upcoming year's budget to now looking at multi-years and kind of do that outward-looking, forward-looking planning. Whenever you're looking to do kind of anything great, things just don't happen overnight. It takes a lot of time, a lot of planning to get to maybe year 3 or year 5 when some things may hit. So again, we specialize in a lot of planning efforts. So maybe with that, Mark, I'll turn it over to you for a minute to explain a few of your roles.
Sure. So I represent the asset management side of the firm. I think as Crandall introduced, we currently do a handful of things, or just a couple things with the municipality. We manage the police pension plan, about $22 million. We took it over when it was much smaller after the 2008, 2009 crash. Came in, have done, I think, quite well. We're probably about 1% over the past 4.5 years, about 1% over benchmarks on an average annual basis. So I think things continue to go well there from the asset perspective. We also, if you look on page 5, PFM Asset Management is actually the investment advisor as well for the Pennsylvania Local Government Investment Trust, of which Norristown currently invests about $2.7 million in that fund. These are operating reserve funds, municipal investment funds that are overseen, again, through the investment advisory relationship with Pliget. PFM is the investment advisor there. So those are a couple of things we do on the asset management side currently and have a pretty good track record. Pliget, I believe, has been around since 1982 with the municipality in terms of the municipality investing with them. And as I said, we've done pension work for about the past 4+ years on the police plan as well. So with that, I'll turn it back over to the financial advisory side as well. I think Jamie's going to speak to you about a few other things we do.
Hi, I'm Jamie Schlesinger. Again, I work with Scott on the FA side. Scott alluded to some of the things that we handle. Again, we'll go into the economic development side. I think the easiest way to understand some of the things we do on the debt side is taking advantage of the current market conditions to essentially lower your interest rates on your existing debt. The municipality has several transactions that are available to save you some money, and that's essentially the low-hanging fruit that you have that ultimately can save the taxpayer money. What does PFM do? We're, again, an independent financial advisor, so we work on your behalf. We're similar to your solicitor on your legal matters. We're the people you should call when you have questions on your financings and get you from point A to point B to ultimately get you the best transaction possible, which essentially means the lowest interest rates possible. Again, the lower the interest rates, the more money you save, the lower the total debt service you pay on your debt. So again, we're here from day one to kind of get you through that process. And as Scott alluded to, these are the type of things we can do rather quickly to save you some money. Let's just flip you over to page 8 real quick. As a global side of PFM, We're a national firm. We've been around since the 70s. We have a number of offices, 39 across the country. We are headquartered in Pennsylvania. We have approximately 70 people dedicated to municipal financial advisor work. I've been doing this for 16 years. I believe Scott has as well. So we've been running around throughout this Commonwealth to help people with their financing. So ultimately, we're here on your behalf to work on these type of transactions. We've been number one pretty much for the last 25 years. So again, we're the right people to call here. Frankly, I'm going to skip page 9. Again, we deal with a number of transactions throughout the state. I think the most important page here is page 10, and this kind of leads to some of the things that we've done in other municipalities where Gordon and Scott can jump in. But on page 10, this is a sample of some of the clients we have in both Montgomery County as well as regionally. We handle most of the school districts around here. We handle many of the clients, regional clients like the county, work with a number of smaller municipalities as well. And even on the city side, we work with Allentown. Again, I think I can let Scott speak to some of those things. So take a breath and let Scott talk.
Thank you. So before we get into some of the Allentown story a little bit more, we'll just kind of hit on a few more pages. I mean, I think to piggyback on Jamie's comment on page 10, I think it's very important in that we get to assist and partner with a lot of different kinds of local governments, whether, again, they're school districts or cities or counties, townships, boroughs, sewer and water authorities. What I think kind of adds to sort of our heightened awareness of maybe some of your challenges or some things that you're looking forward to in the future. We have the ability to represent maybe some of the most vibrant communities out there that are growing, a lot of economic development. A lot of folks are flocking to those various places, some of these in the nearby areas. And we also represent the opposite extreme, the very distressed, the most challenged places across the state and outside the state as well. So again, we see the full spectrum, so we can kind of take bits and pieces of what we learn from sort of that whole range and then apply it to maybe something specific to Norristown. So we do see a lot. I mean, for instance, one thing that will start to become more applicable to Norristown. I mean, today I spent quite a few hours up in the northeastern part of the state working with that council and that mayor. They have a lot of initiatives that they're undertaking. They've been at Act 47 for, I think, the longest in history, and they're now hopefully approaching the point where they can exit Act 47, which is kind of the state's program of kind of pre-bankruptcy. So things are turning around, and we're implementing a lot of things. So they're firsthand. We're working with the mayor and that council on strategies, and they have a lot to do. So that's kind of was the first part of my day. Now tomorrow I will be meeting with a very large developer in the Lehigh Valley area, looking to potentially do a tax increment financing, which may again have some applicability to Norristown for maybe some future economic needs. So we see a lot. We work with all these different school districts in the area, and I think we can add a lot to the table to help you and again partner with you on some of these issues going forward. Page 11, we kind of hit on a lot of these between some of the folks that already spoke as far as what the main scope of the financial advisory services, how we partner with you. There, I think the third bullet point may resonate where, again, we help, look at and evaluate and possibly implement, if it makes sense, various economic development initiatives. To me, that is key to sustaining for sustaining fiscal environment, and it's not easy to do and from the financing aspect, and we have a lot of experience in that. So if and when it does come to that time for the municipality to consider that, again, we kind of have a lot of different tools in our toolbox that we can help you kind of implement those financings to maybe help entice or attract some developers that may be looking at Norristown to build. So again, this just kind of highlights some of our main issues that we look at. I think page 13 is a very important page as well. This is kind of one of the issues that could potentially hit the ground running with the municipality to show some immediate progress, and that's a potential refunding opportunity. You heard Jamie already speak that we've been looking at this, and there are a couple different bond issues and possibly some of a few of the bank loans that the municipality has outstanding that without restructuring the debt, without extending the term, you could actually go from a higher rate to a lower rate in today's market and achieve pretty significant savings, maybe well over $1 million based on today's interest rates. Now, again, that fluctuates on a day-by-day basis, but that's something that maybe you would consider entertaining here in the near term. But to do that, there are some steps. We could move fairly quickly in doing that, but I think to kind of show the marketplace, whether it's the rating agencies, whether it's the investors that want to buy your debt, or maybe investors that want to invest in the community as well, there are some key fundamentals that we would like to assist the municipality with, and that's moving forward with the credit rating process. That's one of the key stepping stones to be able to do a refinancing and potentially save a fair amount of money. And that then dovetails into when Gordon gets up as far as some of the long-range planning that's involved in that. So that's sort of some of the immediate things that we see is potentially embarking on some long-range planning, kind of looking at maybe some additional long-range planning if the municipality already does that. Going to the credit rating agencies, maybe inviting them down to your community, showing them around some of the great things that are happening, and then shortly thereafter implementing that refinancing. And again, on page 13, we're illustrating that there's over $1 million of net savings. Again, that's net of all issuance costs. That's something that the municipality could realize here in the very near term. So again, that's something that we feel is very important to first sort of get to know the municipality, sort of what your needs are, both current and future, kind of take care of that, realize some savings, and then maybe move on to some of the more challenging issues, maybe such as some of the economic development and some of the other initiatives that you may want to undertake. And that kind of leads into page 14 as far as the credit rating preparation. I believe right now the municipality does not have an underlying credit rating through any of the three rating agencies. That's something that I think we do very well, is bring what we call a new credit to the market to go to the rating agencies. A lot of work involved in there. We need a fair amount of your assistance as well, kind of a team effort to put everything together, go present our case, and hopefully they come back then with a very good credit rating. We expect, based on what we have seen in your financials, I think we have a great story to tell about Norristown, and I think the credit rating agencies and the investors will see that as well. So that's kind of we like to spend a lot of time on that to make sure it's done correctly, and ultimately you're the beneficiary of the good credit rating, as well as then the investment community wanting to focus on Norristown and ultimately offering the lower interest rates to help you. So that's very key. And again, we have a specialty in taking sort of the whole wide range of credits to the market or getting a new credit rating. That's not something that is done very often, but again, we have a lot of experience in doing that. Maybe with that, Gordon, if you want to speak for a minute or two, starting on page 15 with kind of how your long-range planning and some of your experience dovetails into that.
Yep. Thanks, Scott. First, thanks for the opportunity to be here tonight and to talk with you folks. So you know Mark from the pension side of things, and you're getting to know Scott and Jamie and Melissa from the financial advisory side. I come from the management and budget consulting side, which is kind of an innocuous term for sort of everything else that local government does. Thinking about how it manages its police department, its fire department, thinking about its tax policy, thinking about debt and pensions are certainly part of that, but thinking about that from a long-term perspective. So you go through the exercise every year of doing an annual budget. And if I had to kind of crystallize what we do is, imagine if instead of you have a 1-year budget, you have a 2 or a 3 or a 4 or a 5-year budget. And that's your multi-year plan. Not that you would make a decision once that freezes your options for the next 5 years, but that you would start to make those decisions with that longer-term picture in mind. Some places do financial planning because they have to, because they have significant challenges that take a long time, that took a long time to come about and take a long time to solve. I know Chief Talbot, we have worked together in Reading, and I think he had a moment of agita when I saw him where he thought, what are you doing here? You are not Reading. You are not in that situation. And while Reading needs financial planning to deal with long-term challenges, and you may have challenges too of a lesser variety, you need to do long-term planning to take advantage of opportunities too. And that's what you have here. You have opportunity from an economic development standpoint. You have opportunity in the way the community is growing. And so the way to tie that in is to say, okay, how do we make sure we get the most out of that opportunity for us as an organization, for the people who work here, for the people who live here, for the people who own homes and businesses here, and for the people we want to attract here. How do we make our tax policy line it up in a way that we're attractive enough to bring people in, but smart about generating the revenue we need over a long time so that the police officers, the firefighters, the public works professionals, all the folks who work here on a daily basis can get the resources they need? How do we be thoughtful about lining up our debt in a way that it matches with what our operating expenses are, that we're not building things that we don't have the resources or the capacity to service, and that we make sure that we strike that delicate balance between having the right amount of debt that shows that we're growing while also not so much debt that it becomes burdensome for the taxpayers to cover. So what we offer in terms of long-term financial planning are a couple of things. One, we're helping you through the budget process and perhaps extending that out. And the other thing is the tool that you have here in the book that's kind of graphed out here for you on page 15 and 16 is a tool to help you do what-if analysis, scenario analysis. So what if we get a major employer? And what if they add a number of employees to things? What does that do for our tax revenues today, next year, 2 years, 3 years from now? What does it do for our service needs? Do we need to add another ambulance? Do we need to add more cops? Do we need to change the way we do things from a public works perspective? What does it mean for us from a debt perspective? And to help you think those things through. If we can help you think those things through thoughtfully, help you think through your options, you're going to make better decisions now to capitalize on the opportunities you have in the future and the opportunities that you have right now. So we hope we get that opportunity to work with you. Thank you.
So the rest of this booklet, we kind of get into some case studies, speak a little bit about Allentown. Maybe I'll just speak for a minute or two on Allentown, and then, if you'd like to ask questions to the team members here, happy to kind of make sure we're here to answer your questions. Or if we need to go back and come back to you with additional information, we're happy to do that as well. But again, I think one of the things that brought us to the table here was what we've done in the city of Allentown that didn't happen overnight. I mean, it took many, many years of planning. I think we started that engagement, I guess that was back in 2006 is when that engagement started, where we kind of were taking a similar approach as what I just talked about before, where we sort of have some immediate goals, maybe do some refinancings and some other maybe low-hanging fruit to kind of lay some groundwork, get to know the city, or in this case, the municipality, and then move forward some larger initiatives. And so the past 5 years, I guess, well, more so 2009 through 2013, my life was extremely consumed with some of the issues going on in Allentown, all very good. The economic development boom, which started out with new legislation that was enacted in 2009 and needed to be amended a few times to make sure we could get a financeable product out there, but ultimately being able to take legislation that never been seen before across the country and being able to sort of ultimately generate the catalyst that sparked all that economic development. Now they're teetering on almost about $1 billion of economic development that's been occurring over the past 2 years, just a huge change for the city. Like I said, that did not happen overnight. It was a huge team effort with very, very many stakeholders, whether it was financing team, within City Hall, all those various stakeholders, various developers. So, I mean, the list goes on and on and on to make that work. But again, that took a lot of planning over the years to put that in motion. So that's kind of one thing where we took an economic development tool and we were able to put that in motion to drive the economic development, which is now bringing in the revenues, whether it's real estate revenues and other revenues. And the amount of development that's now occurring in downtown Allentown is incredible. So that was kind of one key initiative. The other thing that we did to help with some major financial issues, I mean, economic development was a huge financial boom for the city as well, because bringing in all these new taxes, increasing their assessed value. Obviously very key. It's not just a one-time generation of money, it's an ongoing, sustainable amount. Very, 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 very key. The other thing that was really hurting or posing a very large challenge was their unfunded liability in their pension. Theirs was very, very large, and it was going to be kind of hitting a very big wall in the very near term. So that's when we went through the process of monetizing their sewer and water assets to generate a lot of money for the pension fund to fund that. And again, that sort of helped correct their fiscal problems, that they could redeploy some of their revenues to enhance some of their economic development. So the two went hand in hand. They were both very, very large programs that the city initiated that they needed to kind of create this kind of change. We're doing something similar now up in Scranton. Again, they've kind of tried for many, 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 many years, and now the stars are kind of aligning where they're looking at public-private partnerships with their sewer authority, generating a lot of proceeds to go towards the city, looking at making their parking much more efficient, maybe entering into a public-public partnership with their parking system to, again, stop some of the bleeding that was occurring and maybe provide additional revenues going forward. Looking to take them to the market. They have not been in the market for quite some time, hoping to get them an investment grade rating in the near term. So we're kind of known for maybe taking a little seed or a little thought and implementing that into creating a major change for a city, a municipality. And that, that's what we do on a daily basis. That's what we love to do. So again, there's a little bit more information in this booklet about some of the stuff I just spoke about regarding Allentown. But again, happy to answer, entertain any questions you may have that we may not have hit on so far.
Council members, any questions? Councilman Simpson.
So I guess what I'm looking at, I had an opportunity to talk to the mayor in Allentown a few years back, and when he first introduced the NIS. So am I thinking that you guys were the ones that were primarily behind the creation of the NIS?
That's correct. Yes,
Okay.
we were kind of there from the ground up.
From the ground up. So now the state has changed it to the CRIS.
Yes.
So now how can you from what was created or developed by the NIS at that particular time and then what the CRIS is now, we know that the parameters have changed drastically or dramatically, and then there's an issue with regards to who is actually available to buy into or to actually seek that funding. You would be able to assist us with kind of negotiating through that murky water and the changes?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of policy issues, I guess, and some legislative changes that I think need to occur with the CRIS legislation to make it hopefully a more financeable piece of legislation. I mean, that's always the key. Is it's good to have a good piece of legislation, but we need to make sure we can implement it and put it in action. And I think there's pretty much consensus across the state that it needs to be amended to make it a little bit more viable for financing and maybe attract some developers and enhance this a little bit. So yes, that's something that we would play a key role in that team. And if Norristown was designated to be able to receive that CRIS designation, we would be very happy to again partner with you, kind of work through all that. We have a very good relationship with the Commonwealth. When it comes to their debt financings, we're their financial advisor as well. But through the long NIS process, we developed very many relationships with the Department of Revenue and the Budget Office, kind of making sure that was implemented correctly. So, I mean, we know all the key stakeholders at the various offices within the state to be able to help you, I think, in a very efficient way.
I wish we would have known of you or met you whenever you created the NIS. That would have been a great initial stepping stone.
Yes.
Before they, got all willy-nilly with it.
Yes, but no, absolutely. We would love to partner with you with the CRIS. Absolutely.
Councilwoman Airy.
Thank you. It's my understanding that the Allentown NIS was a specific set of legislation that was particularly designed just for Allentown, and that those kinds of pieces have sort of gone away. Are you saying that the legislation is changing to provide that kind of assistance to other municipalities in this new CRIS aspect of it?
Yeah, I think the CRIS legislation, they might be amending it. Again, none of this is set in stone. This is all kind of being thought about. And hopefully we'll move forward, is to, number one, open up the amount of applications or those various municipalities that it would apply to. I mean, the initial legislation is very limited as far as how many municipalities can be designated into the kind of have their own CRIS. So they're looking at opening up to more. I think they're also looking at potentially changing various measures to enhance the financeability of that. So we can take that legislation to a bank or to investors and be able to kind of bundle that so that it does make more sense for a developer to be able to take advantage of that. So you're absolutely right. Probably for quite some time, we will not see legislation that is on the same scale as the NIS. I mean, that probably was a one-timer, but I think they are making good efforts to enhance the CRIS to make it more marketable and make it more useful and more beneficial for municipalities. And so that's where, in conjunction, if you're looking at the CRIS, maybe, again, every municipality is a little bit different how they view this, but maybe it's something in combination with a TIF, a tax increment financing, might make sense. How that might work with LERTAs that you may have, kind of looking at all the different, kind of take the whole alphabet soup out there, the various different acronyms that are available for economic development and what makes sense for Norristown. It might be some combination. It's never a one-size-fits-all. You kind of got to look at the needs here within your community, look at the various tools, and what's ultimately going to make the most sense. And then, sort of depending on how everything's working out, do you have developers already knocking on your door wanting to do something, or are you trying to create a platform to maybe attract more developers to start being interested in Norristown? That kind of plays into it as well as how we move forward with that. So there's definitely the tools out there. I think the CRIS is something, again, that could be very helpful, but again, with some of these other tools that we mentioned as well.
One more question. Yeah. So no, what have you guys done with regards to kind of land banking efforts? Do you have any kind of policies or practices? Have you been involved with anything that kind of the helps to find a way how to create a positive land bank scenario or situation?
We don't get in too much into the weeds with that, but we could probably make some recommendations of some other folks that could help assist in that as well. I mean, I think that's one thing that we can add, and some value that we can add. And Gordon, if you want to add a little bit more to that, bring some
sneak up on you there.
To bring some additional folks to the table
right.
that might have a little bit more depth in that. But if you want to add a little bit more.
So one of the things you're eligible for right now, that I don't think would cost you anything, whether you decide to do all the other things that we've talked about here tonight, and I hope you decide to do some of them, is the federal government has something called the National Resource Network. This was an initiative of President Obama that started a few years ago. And as part of that, if you pick up the phone and you dial 911, you get Chief Talbot or whoever you get for the dispatching for the fire department. You could pick up the phone and dial 311 and get information. And this is actually a 311 system for cities. So the way it works is or for municipalities or for boroughs, you have to be above a certain population size, but I checked before we came and you're on the short list, so to speak. So you actually have the ability to reach out to them on any number of things, and land banking is one of the common topics, and say, hey, network, we're interested in doing a land bank. Point me in the right direction for best practices. What are the things I should think about? Give me a starting point and then work with them. The National Resource Network is partially PFM, but it's partially an economic development firm out of Washington, D.C. It's partially a community development firm out of New York City. It's partially the NYU Stern Business School. So it's a number of things. And that's something that I don't believe costs you anything. And after we're done here, I'll make sure I get your name and your email address. And that's as simple as send the email address. I'm sure you have an economic development director here who would want to be engaged in that. And they can get you going with, a 1 to 2 page thing. It says, okay, this will get you started in the right direction.
I think we do have one slide in the presentation that hits on some of the highlights of that program, but not a whole lot of detail.
Thank you, Madam President. So that I'm clear, getting back kind of to the alphabet soup, your role in any projects that would involve, the legislative programs and things that are designed for economic development is really what I'm understanding is taking it and financing it out in the market. Or you're not the guys who are going to do the lobbying and the kind of the groundwork to get those kinds of legislations like the CRIS piece done, or are you advocating that you would then also be a lobbyist? I mean, is part of your package to lobby for those pieces of legislation that we would need or we would like to have to do things like we're done in Allentown, or are you really taking it to the public finance, taking it to the private finance markets?
Typically, it's taking it to the public or private finance market, but it depends on the situation. I mean, we're not a lobbying firm by any means, but it depends on the situation where we can kind of work from the ground up with certain legislators that might be spearheading certain of these initiatives in conjunction with some other lobbying firms potentially, or if you have internal folks here that could help. So we don't necessarily lead that component of the lobbying, but in many instances we're one part of it, or we're a team member of it.
Okay. And the only other question I had was I mean, you've talked about a number of different services that you provide. I assume those are all, bid out kind of as individual pieces to that, to any, if we were in a relationship with you guys, it would be for bond refinance. It would be for long-term planning. It's not a one-stop. It's not a one-stop contract. It's kind of per project or per need.
However you like it. It could be a one-stop contract, or it could be for certain segments, however you'd like. I mean, we're extremely flexible with contracts and our engagement, so we want to do what you want us to do. So, I mean, that's the key thing.
How do you typically do it?
In many instances, there is a kind of a master engagement letter, but then we might have work orders or subcontracts for go do the debt refinancing. Go through that credit rating process, go do all that, go do that debt refinancing, and then you get paid when if and when that refinancing closes, and that kind of stops that work order. You may say, well, while you're doing that, maybe also have a work order to engage in some of the CRIS work that's going on, or engage Gordon with some of his long-range planning. So again, we typically kind of have that master contract, but when we have a client that has a lot of needs, potentially a lot of things on the table, that's, again, where we can be as formal or as informal as you'd like. I mean, we want to adhere to your policies and your internal protocol, so it's whatever makes the most sense for you.
Is that typically fee for service or commission?
Fee.
Fee.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, Council? I would like to thank you for coming and for introducing some of the tools that Norristown could potentially use in the future. And now that Norristown is in a good place in regards to our audits being up to date thanks to our finance department. We look forward to speaking with you guys and doing some business.
Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate your time. Thank you again for having us. Thank you.
Vice President Airy, do you have any announcements?
Yes. Norristown Government Library on November the 5th is great with my plate. Families are invited to learn about healthy snacks. The registration is required. You would call 610-278-5100, extension 205. The Norristown Police Department and Ebenezer Church are collecting donations of new blankets for the homeless. Donations may be dropped off at the Norristown Police Department or Ebenezer Church before November 20th. Also, we have the Plymouth Ambulance at East Main and Green is collecting new unwrapped toys for the 6th annual Christmas Kids Toy Run benefiting Bryn Mawr Hospital and St. Christopher Children's Hospital. And that's it.
Does any other
No, there's not. No, there's not.
The next order of business is finance. Shanora, if you could give a brief description of the Norristown State Firefighters Pension Plan and the Norristown Police Pension Plan.
Thank you, Madam President. I have submitted resolution 15-151 for the 2015 minimum municipal obligation for the pension funding to deposit the amount for state aid that has been received to fund the pension plan under Act 205. The amount that's been received from the state is $933,158.68, and it has been allocated $716,144.75 to the police pension fund and $217,013.93 for the firefighter fund. And with the council's approval, the funds will be deposited to fund the pension plan in addition to as a component of our 2015 minimum municipal obligation pension funding.
Would a council member like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution 15-151 to fulfill our obligation to our company firefighter pension plan.
So moved.
Second. Roll call, Madam Secretary.
William Caldwell.
Aye.
Gary Simpson. Marlon Milner. Libby Brady. Valerie Scott Cooper. Derek Perry. Sonia Sanders.
Aye. That motion is approved for resolution 15-151 to fulfill our obligation to the Norristown State Firefighters Pension Plan and the Norristown Police Pension Plan. The next order of business, we have Shanora to go into a brief discussion in regards to the advertising of the
Thank you, Madam President. This is in respect to the agreement between the municipality of Norristown and the Montgomery County offices for a financing agreement to purchase radios for the police and fire under the a 5-year interest-free loan to fund the purchase of approximately 161 radios and devices for a total of $583,968.82. The amount would be financed over 5 years, and as I said, is interest-free, and the amount annually that would be committed would be $116,973.77 approximately, plus or minus a penny, for the term of 5 years to purchase these radios.
Those in favor?
Question.
Madam President, I have a question.
Sorry about that, Councilman.
Not a problem. Thank you. Question regarding the radios. It's my understanding that there's a change in the frequency of the technology that the radio transmissions are being used on, and that the new radios that are being under this particular contract are the ones that, in other words, the old radios that we have are going to be phased out. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So it's pretty much essential that we enter in some kind of agreement to obtain these new radios because we would be lacking communications for emergency services. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
One question for you, and I don't know who would answer it. So the question or the request would be, what type of warranties would we have during this 5-year period? Are these damage replacement, or would we have to facilitate whatever repairs need to occur if damages happen, et cetera, so on and so forth?
Thank you, Councilman Simpson. The purchase of the radios includes some extended warranties on some of the equipment. I don't know the details specifically, but I do note that there are 4-year extended warranties on a number of the radios that are being purchased.
And that's in the price that we're...
That is included in the price that we are financing.
All those in favor?
Madam President,
Councilman Miller.
may we have a motion in a second?
I would like to make a motion for the approval of the advertising of proposed ordinance regarding certain capital projects covering the police and fire departments.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That motion carries. Thank you. Next order of business is public safety. Chief Strategy going to regards to the handicap parking.
Sure. We're requesting a handicap space be erected at 915 West Airy Street due to the physical condition of the resident there. There's a need for a reasonable accommodation. And we're also requesting the removal of a handicap parking space at 514 Noble Street that is no longer needed.
Second.
Removal of handicap parking space at 514 Noble Street.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That motion carries.
Roll call.
Resolution.
William Caldwell.
Aye.
Gary Simpson. Marlon Milner. Livia Brady. Valerie Scott Cooper. Derek Perry.
Aye.
Sonia Sanders.
Next order of business is
Madam President, Council, we had submitted to you at a prior meeting the information regarding the settlement agreement and mutual release between the municipality of Norristown collectively with the redevelopment authority of Montgomery County and the county as it relates to Charles Gallup and the legal issues surrounding that for the Logan Square project. What we have done at the consent of council is actually gotten the sign-offs on the agreement. They've been forwarded so that initial payment could be made to the county, the municipality, and RDA through the RDA before October 30th. And this is a request that council ratify that agreement as far as the settlement is concerned. And there are two parts as it relates to the settlement. One is a repayment plan for Mr. Gallup in the amount of $250,000 related to loans. And the second was that the three parties had brought action against Mr. Gallup regarding an illegal transfer of property, and there'll be repayment, a lump sum payment that's actually been made regarding that to the tune of $400,000 to be split among the parties to the agreement. So what we're requesting tonight is a ratification of that global settlement agreement and mutual release between Norristown collectively with the RDA, Montgomery County, and Charles Gallup.
I'd like to make a motion to ratify the global settlement agreement of Norristown collectively with the RDA and county with Charles Gallup.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
Madam President.
Thank you. If I might suggest that you might ask for a motion, there's some confusion here. When you make the motion, someone's making it again after you, and then it's being seconded. None of us are going to jail, but there seem to be some jitters in the room tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for that feedback, Councilman.
Thank you, Madam President. Oh, thank you. The 4 addresses on the sheet here, the agenda, were all homeowners or property owners that went in front of the Harbor Board for permits to maintain or upgrade their property. In the case of 130 Wayne Avenue, there was guidelines for porch work and some window treatments. That was guidelines were set out by the Harbor Board, and conditional that they any permits be approved to those specifications. Since these are 4, do you want me to do we want to vote on each one individually? Yes, please. Okay, so that would be 130 Wayne Avenue.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the HARB certificates of appropriateness recommended for 130 Wayne Avenue.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes.
The second address I'll address now is 205 East Lafayette Street, and the renovations that are going to take place at that address are frontage, replacement of the frontage and repointing of brick, and there's a specification design that they forwarded to the Harbor Board through their architect that for the design of the frontage and for the replacement of the windows, doors, and roof.
Can I get a number of councilors to make that motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Carried none, that motion passes.
The third address is 706 West Elm Street. That too, similar to East Lafayette, is repair of the front facade and replacing 6 windows in front to the specifications laid out by the Harbor Board.
Can I get a number of councilors to make a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a question?
Councilwoman Brady?
Yeah, thank you. The 706 West Elm Street, is this the property that is currently on West Elm Street that has the facade or the porch completely down with supports holding it up?
Yes.
Thank you.
Madam President?
Councilman Miller?
Thank you. I'm curious, given Councilwoman Brady's question, two-part question, is there a code violation here or a life, health, safety issue related to what she just described? And B, do they need the Harbor approval in order to redo the porch in some type of mandated way? Thank you.
The first part of your question, they did begin construction. There is no current situation where it's a structurally sound building, but we did stop work because they did not approach the Harbor Board to make the corrections as required by them. So that's why they went to the board, and we approved the corrections and specifications that they have to rebuild to.
I might add that in our packet we had a description of what the repairs were, and he is correct in that. I only asked because I wanted to identify that that was the property I had seen before. Thank you.
Can I get a number of councilors to make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried none, that motion passes.
And the last property on the list here is 739 George Street, and that just entails some exterior paint and stucco work on the outside, and the Harbor Board had to approve the color and specification to the stucco.
May I please get a number of councilors to make a motion, please?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried none, that motion passes.
Madam President, just a quick question. Thank you, Madam President. Just a quick question on the HARB, and this might be directed to our municipal administrator. Are we going to have a yearly or annual report on the actions that are prepared by the HARB Board, meaning the number of properties that were identified who had come before, permits that were issued after the certificate of appropriateness had been issued, and so forth? Because I don't believe we've had one of those reports, and I thought it was in the specifications of the HAR board that that was given.
We'll make sure that you're provided with that report.
Thank you, Madam President. Could I have a moment to bring down the screen? For some reason, that button just doesn't, yeah, that particular button is not my joy.
You might need new batteries.
You can keep a little bit.
Keep going down.
Thank you, Madam President. With the completion of the audits recently for the municipality of Norristown, we wanted to take the opportunity just to give a brief overview of the audits and the financial report for the quarter of the third quarter of 2015 through September. What you have before you is just a brief summary of some of the things in relation to the audit for the municipality. When I started about a year ago, we were in the position that there were several audits that had not been complete. So during the duration, with the assistance of multiple people within the municipality, council members included, we were able to complete 7 audits within 15 months. Those audits were for the years 2008 through 2014. We received an unqualified opinion on each year for those audits. The audits were issued, and for 2014, the audit was actually issued within 9 months of the fiscal year end, which is required as part of the auditing requirements for the municipality under GASME. During that time, what the audit was able to present to us was that the bond debt decreased over that term from $34.97 million in 2008 down to $19,096,000 in 2014, with approximately $15 million in principal payments over those terms. Our net position, which indicates our value from the difference between assets and liabilities, ended up was increased over that term as well, from 2008, where it was $8.12 million, to $13.79 million in 2014, which is an increase of approximately $5.6 million. To give you a little background, the government financial statement, the government-wide financial statement, measures the overall financial status of the municipality, both in the short term and the long term. I have several slides, and what I will be presenting to you is just the balances to show you the changes and fluctuations over that period that were presented in the audit statements. What that does is also allows you to see the trajectory of the municipality over those years. So without those audits being done at that period, while they were being conducted, we were able to determine what our fund balance was, what our position was, and it's reflected favorably at this point through 2014. The net position increases and decreases that you will see indicate whether or not the municipality is improving or deteriorating. So we were in a position where we were improving. The government-wide financial statements represent the entire municipality asset pool, so everything for the government that is rolled into those numbers. The fund financial statement, which shows the fund balance as of December 2014, was $10.4 million. That was mentioned briefly when we had the audit presentation when we finalized the 2014 audit. But that represents the basic services of the municipality, the revenues less the expenses and the assets that are available to the municipality as a result, the net assets. Talking about and moving towards our general fund, this reflects not only what we've done as part of the audit, but where we are through September 13th. So I wanted to provide a brief overview of the overall financial picture for the municipality. As of the third quarter 2015, our cash balance for our general operating fund was $12.5 million. We established a credit reserve as a municipality back in June of 2014 as a component of the designated and undesignated fund balance. And these accounts are maintained separately from the operating accounts, and they are not included in the $12.5 million. As of September 30th, we had $474,000 in the credit reserve available for the municipality's use. For the operating fund for revenues and expenses for 2015, revenues and expenses for the municipality during the year are recorded on a cash basis. So that means that things are recorded as received and things are recorded as they are expended. At the end of the year, as part of our audit process, we do the final reconciliations, we do all of the accruals that are required for accounting, and at the end of the year, we will prepare those in conjunction with the audits. Through September 30th, 2015, $25.2 million have been collected, and $19,093,000 has been expended. While our annual budget for 2015 is approximately $30 million, the revenues and expenses are managed to ensure that the revenue does not exceed the expenditures. One of the impacts that the municipality has encountered as part of the duration of not having audits done was there was a potential for restricted assets to funding, to grants, to credit that was available to the municipality. And we had an example tonight when PFM came in and talked about what our opportunities are as a municipality. And part of that is in conjunction with the fact that we now have an idea of what our financial position is for, through current. I am very happy to say that I'm glad to have been a part of this. It was a very extensive effort, but at the end of the day, with all of the support and partnerships with the council, with the departments, with the municipalities, various employees, we were able to put those audits out, and we published them, and they are also available on the website. This page just gives you a brief overview of the picture of the audits over the term for the 2008 through 2014. So report issuance dates for each of those years I've noted went from June 2014 all the way to September 29th, 2015, which just happens to correspond with our third quarter financial reporting for 2015. What you have in front of you is a summary of the accounts based on how they're presented for the audit financial statement. The statement of net position acts as in a similar fashion to what a balance sheet does for the private sector. So it's representing our cash, our receivables. Our capital assets are the fixed assets that the municipality owns. And then the other assets are the various other assets that are represented as part of the government-wide statement. The accounts payable and accrued expenses are also provided, and then there is the debt, the compensated absences. The OPEB obligation represents the obligation for the pensions, and then other liabilities. And below that is provided our net position through the periods for the financial statement through the end of 2014. This also gives the statement of activities on the audits, and it gives the revenues and expenses over the term that have been provided. in the various components, which are primarily the real estate taxes, the earned income taxes, business taxes, transfer taxes, and other revenues that the municipality receives. The expenses are broken down in categories that are, again, prescribed by how the audit is presented. So there's general government, which represents administration, there's public safety, there's highways, there's sanitation, community development, recreation, and then the interest on our long-term debt, which reflects the payments and interest that would due on the bonds that were outstanding as part of the debt portfolio for the municipality. The change in position indicates the difference between the revenues or monies that the municipality received and the expenses or the disbursements that they put out. Over the term as well provided is the general fund balance, which is the operating balance, the operating fund, the general operating fund, which is the daily business operations of the municipality. And it shows the fund balance at the end of that term and the changes in the fund balance over the duration for those periods. This graph provides you with just a picture of the cash that has been collected by the municipality through September 2015. So it's representing $25,262,000, which has been received through September, which is in line with what we received in 2014 around this time as well. And then the revenue for the budget that was projected for 2015. We've also given a graphic of the expenses, which also for 2015 represent $19.9 million in expenditures through September 30th, and again in line pretty much with what we spent through September of last year. And our budget again is $30,476,000, which is a zero balance budget at the end of the year. And the last page that has been provided provides a snapshot of the detail, again, in accordance with the revenue categories as part of our audit and the departments that represent the operations of the municipality. So for the revenue categories, there's the property taxes that have been collected, local enabling, licensing and permits, intergovernmental, which represents grants over the years, and charges for service, which are the fees, interest earnings, and then miscellaneous and non-departmental. For the expenditure categories, we have all of the various departments that operate under the municipality of Norristown in their various departments, and the expenditures that represent what has been spent for 2014, what was budgeted, and what was expended so far for 2015. Thank you for allowing me to present this information to you. I look forward to further enhancing the financial reports and providing this information on a regular duration to discuss and have available for the public to review and to inquire as part of our efforts to move towards transparency. If anyone has any questions, I would be glad to entertain them.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you very much for the financial presentation. It was very informative. Two questions. One, very simple question. Is there an approval that we're going to do on this financial plan, or is it in a state that is ready to be presented on our website, and is that going to happen?
We will be working to add these sorts of statements to the website. This is our first attempt at putting together a status, so to speak. We wanted the opportunity to present the audits and how that looks as a picture for the municipality and the financial picture for the third quarter. So we will be working to see what we can put up on the website for availability.
Very good. I applaud the transparency that goes into this. My second question is regarding our bond debt rating. You indicated in your presentation that the bond debt had decreased, and because of the audits that have been completed, it puts us in a very good position. Does this change our overall bond rating, and if so, what is that bond rating?
We currently do not have a bond rating. Again, as a result of the audits not being done, we weren't in a position to obtain a bond rating. We also didn't have any new debt financing later than 2006. So that, in conjunction with the audits, we are now in a position where we can start to pursue the bond rating. There are quite a number of steps that would be involved in being able to obtain a bond rating and looking at financing for the municipality. But it is a good picture because one of the things that speaks clearly to the availability of funds and the management of the municipality was that we were able to consistently and correctly pay down the debt on a regular basis, whereas there are some institutions and some municipalities were not able to maintain that level of commitment to their debt financing.
Thank you. And what is the target time frame to obtain that bond rating?
We will be reaching out and working with various agencies to try and determine how we move forward with that, to determine what steps we need to take to get our bond rating.
Very good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Can I get Councilmembers who are
There's a question.
No problem, Madam President. Shanara, thank you for this report. So in the report, you don't use the fund codes. In your opinion, your approach here is more illuminating because of what?
I'm sorry.
I said that in the report here, so for example, I'm looking at page 4, General Fund Overview.
Yes.
So for the purposes of your presentation tonight, you did not use the fund codes. I presume you believe this particular approach is more illuminating. So can you explain a bit your rationale for this type of presentation? Specifically page 4.
Well, page 4 for the revenue categories closely aligned with how we would need to present for the audit financial statements. The categories of the details and line items of the finances are combined in some cases and not necessarily in the numerical order that we maintain on our general ledger chart of accounts. And what we're trying to do is provide a snapshot of the revenues and expenses that could be considered against the budget, the finances for the audit.
Okay, thank you. I have some additional follow-up questions. So, even so you've chosen to present this information in this way tonight, I know you're familiar with the report, the monthly report that you sent us for September, so I'm going to refer to both as we move forward here. In the monthly report from September, you were showing us percentages of budgeted expenses accrued and percentages of revenue accrued to date. And these numbers are consistent with those numbers. But in the monthly report, if I recall, and I am looking at it here, but revenue was around 85% accrued to that point, and expenses was around 60-something accrued, 65% accrued to the evaluation point, I presume end of maybe mid-September, or maybe that was just end of August. My question is, offering us that percentage, against budget for the full year, obviously those aren't the same. And I know that so I just want to know, where do you think we're trending in terms of revenue and expenses? They don't have to move in tandem, I presume, but where do you think we're trending? Do you think we're going to arrive at a point where we achieve 100% of anticipated expenses, or somewhere close? Or are we going to achieve somewhere close to 100% of anticipated or budgeted revenues, or somewhere close?
Okay. And just to point out, the revenues and expenses that have been recorded and are presented in the monthly report are based on the cash basis. We don't do the accruals until the end of the year when we're doing our final reconciliations, because some of that information doesn't get to us until that time.
Okay.
But for the position of the percentages, what I presume and what we manage is to ensure that revenue or expenditures do not exceed revenue. So we are trending for revenue and expenses in a similar fashion to what we did in the previous year. I believe that we will continue to do so, but we're managing the process to ensure that we do not exceed our budget.
Well, let me ask you a slightly different question. We seem to be roughly in the same place that we were a year ago. We had about 20 million of expenses at this time a year ago. We have about 19, or just a tad below 20 million now. Is there something about the seasonal periods that we would expect an uptick in expenses in the fourth quarter? And if so, what would be the driver of that typically?
Well, there are some expenses that are budgeted and deferred to closer to the end of the year, and year-end will represent an opportunity to evaluate whether those expenses are pushed through and what the need is at the time. One of the expenses that's coming through in the fourth quarter is the pension obligation is one of the bigger things that's going to come through in the fourth quarter, and that has been budgeted for to manage as part of the budget process.
Okay. And then for me, for the moment, one, and that was very helpful, that explanation, I appreciate that. Two final questions related to the revenue categories on page 4. As you know, I had asked for you to disaggregate the fund code called public safety. I didn't understand. I was ignorant of what was in that category, but in your report notes, you did indicate development fees and permitting were a part of that overall category. But I would imagine that category has been merged with some other things under charges for service. Would that be accurate?
That would be correct.
Okay. And so, even so, what I appear to show is, and again, I know that, maybe there's going to be a significant uptick in revenue in the fourth quarter, but at this point, that's about 31% off of budget for the year, that charge for service category where public safety is included, and where included in public safety is development, fees, et cetera. Knowing that there are other things lumped in there that I don't know, how you went from the 20 fund codes down to these 9 areas, and I don't need an explanation, but to the extent that public safety is really where this difference is in this number, can you say anything about what you anticipate for the fourth quarter as it relates to the public safety category within charges for service?
As of yet, we are monitoring it closely, but no, I can't make any estimations as to what will occur in the fourth quarter related to collections for that. Again, some things are seasonal, and for instance, property taxes, just as an example, is one where at the end of the year we also get a larger collection because it's at the end of the year before real estate taxes go to lien. But we are monitoring our collections of revenues closely in conjunction with our expenses to be able to manage the overall budget.
And related to that, and maybe Ms. Massonier can help, but since developers put money in escrow for projects, when do you all, on a cash basis, account for that type of money under development fee, within the public safety category? Is it when it's in escrow, or when they actually draw it down to pay for something that you're requiring them to pay for?
Well,
or does that type of money not flow into this category?
It does not. It does not. What flows into the revenue categories are the collection fees for permits in that respect.
Correct. So only the
Escrows are
permitting?
managed, but the escrows are managed separately, and the escrows are not part of that process. And they're not reflected as part of the general operating fund revenues.
So when you use this phrase, and again I'm referring to the September report, development fees as distinct from permits, what are you referring to?
It is fees for permits related to construction, and in some cases that's associated with development.
If I may. It also refers to land development fees, zoning hearing board fees, not necessarily the permit either, but those are some of the fees that are included in that category.
The application fees?
Correct.
Okay, all right, that's helpful, thank you. Finally, non-departmental. I know this was either called non-departmental or something else in September, but we have, if I'm reading this correct, we have nothing in that. We have nothing actual in that category. What was the type of things anticipated in non-departmental?
That is a reconciliation item for the end of the year. That's not a cash collection. That is a accrual and reconciliation that's at the end of the year. That will occur then if it's necessary. That's the credit reserves, capital reserves that we budget as part of the budget process for 2015.
So if you needed to draw upon that to close the gap.
We've been budgeting that, but we have not used that in any period.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
You're welcome.